Ron.
Hey, Corey.
Hey, gang.
It's just us. So this is the 6th. That's right. It's the 6:30 meeting. Nobody else is going to show up, are they?
Nope.
Okay. Is that Ethan as community development?
Yes, that's me.
Hi, Ethan. Thank
Hello.
you for setting this up. Good job, Ethan.
No problem.
Okay. Ethan, is this going to be on YouTube or simulcast or whatever?
Yeah, it's live right now. So we're streaming on the city's website. I mean, the city's YouTube channel.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay. We have a few things. We have Prime, which we need to talk about, and we have 2 other applications. And I believe we're going to deal with Prime first, and then the other 2 applications. But talking about the other 2 applications first, I am going to be recusing myself from the application for Brinkerhoff, Chief Baugh and whoever. And that's because I'm within 500 feet of it, and we have plenty of board members to go around, so I don't have to ask for dispensation on the 500-foot rule. And Kathy, you're going to run that?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any feedback, by the way? When I'm talking, is it weird or is there feedback? No? Okay. All right, so we have those 2. I would like to chat about them for a minute first, then we can talk about Prime. The 2 are 2248 and 49. The first one's Albert Phillips repaving the existing driveway. And then it's not quite as clear from the drawings. You know, honestly, one of the problems with this pandemic is that I am not going to City Hall to review packets, and we don't really get to do them together. And that, you know, they're pretty good. In general, I would have asked for a couple pieces of information. I could have when I did it, but then I forget it. I'm not, you know, so, but basically it looks like, I wish I knew how far from the street
Kyle,
it
can you
was, but
pull-
it's created.
You show a picture of that?
What's that?
I'm going to try and get Kyle to show a picture of.
Okay. Kyle,
Which one?
I just don't know how far back
50
is it
54
from
L.
the street that he wants to create that?
Maybe the satellite picture is a better picture.
Well, yeah, Kyle, you're muted too, right? But I guess I'm just trying to understand it. I mean, he's creating a little. I assume this is because he's doing the paving anyway, correct? And he wants to create this.
Yes. So he wants to
Yeah.
create it, that little alcove in the front.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'd be right there next to that porch, basically. The side
Essentially.
porch.
Kyle, do you have the satellite?
I don't have the satellite picture now.
I did email it to you,
No, but
I think
But
about.
Kyle, do you know about this? Kyle, you know about this, correct?
I'm not exactly sure. No.
All I want to know is where is it? It's next. Is it along the house next to that the further back porch? I mean, not next to, in front of that.
Okay, give me a minute. I'll see if I can pull it up.
That is where it is, Ron. Right there.
Right, right. I mean, I just, you know, it just doesn't, I don't know. Anyway, does everybody have enough information about this? We can discuss it with the applicant. For tenant off-road, I mean, everybody wants off-road parking in the front yard, you know?
Well, but is it in the front yard?
It is. It is partially in the front yard. Kyle, you don't have the satellite photo? I can try and print it and send it to you again.
Yeah, I guess that's my question. How far back is it?
Or are they looking to pave closer to the road than the front of the house?
Yes, they would have to. It's slightly, yes.
Okay.
But would that be that slanted part to get to it?
Yes,
Not the space itself?
right. The satellite photo actually
Okay.
shows a car parked right there.
Is that must be that's the porch. I mean, they're talking about pulling right up to the porch, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And, right, okay. But is the only portion in the front yard, I guess here's the question. Is the front of the house 25 feet from or whatever is required from the road, from the street, from the property line?
The front of the house is 20 feet from the property line, which is what's required.
Okay. Can you go,
But this
back to the
parking,
picture?
the parking space
Go
will
ahead.
be partially in the front.
Say it again.
The parking space will be partially in the front yard. Kyle, you don't have that satellite photo? Okay,
Kyle, you're
I ju-
muted.
I just printed it out. I'll email it to you again. Okay?
Kyle, you're muted for some reason. Okay. You're still muted.
That's how he likes it.
Yeah. The strong silent type. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, so there's a discussion about how much it is or isn't. We'll have to figure that out. But does everybody understand it? That's all we care about at this point. All right. When we are going to have me, Kathy, Scott, Kelly, and who is going to be the fifth? Ellie, Megan, or PJ?
I'll be the
Pete?
fifth.
What's that?
I'll be the fifth.
Who? Does anybody have a preference? I don't. What do you think? Are you raising your hand, Ellie?
Yeah, I will be the fifth.
You say it again. Boy, the sounds.
I'll do it.
Terrible. You'll do it. Okay. Is that okay with PJ? Is that okay with you? Okay. And Megan, that's okay with you? Okay. The second one is the bar, and I think his wife's name is something else. The shed in the backyard at 85 Brinker Up, it appears they took down a garage that was at least that size, right, Joe?
That's what I'm hearing, although I don't have the information on that.
Okay.
Looking at satellite, it sure doesn't look like it was that big.
Well, this
Yeah, I
is
think satellite imagery shows a little shed back there. I don't think it shows the garage they were referencing.
right, but this is a coverage issue, right, Joe? They're not within setbacks or anything like that.
No, it's a coverage
2%.
issue.
It's they and am I correct that it's there 25 is required and they'd be at 32.4?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. But you
And-
know what? And I'm not
And the
gonna-
building is up?
It is up.
What's that?
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you that when I babysit my fur grandchildren, I walk around that block there and I see their exercise equipment in the back. And I mean, I'm within 500 feet, so I'm not gonna do it, but I'm always wanting to promote single family staying in the center city. However, we have to help them. That's my opinion. But anyway, does everybody understand it? That's the question. Kathy?
Kathy?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I saw your math sheet. I assume it's, Joe, maybe your math sheet for the coverage and open space. Your little like worksheet as part of our package. Somebody
That
did
wasn't
some-
mine, but I heard Ron say the numbers and I did do a calculation and it's right at that.
Okay, that's a handy sheet. Is that done for all of the variances for setbacks and coverage and?
Yeah, we have it on the front of our folder. One of them,
Okay.
so.
It's the first time I've seen that. I don't know if I've missed it before, but I thought it was helpful.
All right, so how
Yeah.
about we include them from now on?
Yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask,
Absolutely.
does it matter? It doesn't affect their available coverage and open space if they have an undersized lot or anything like that? And it's not like setbacks where you get like a pro rata reduction or?
No, that's a good question, but no, they don't get relief if they have an undersized lot.
Okay, so just so I'm reading this right, the existing coverage is 30% and they're going to 32.4 where 25 is required, and the existing open space is 49. They're proposing 47 and required is 50%. Am I reading that right?
That's right.
What,
So
What
the
are
open
the-
space is almost,
what
To
are
go to
the,
your point about lot size, the required lot size in that district, 7,500, and they're at 6,000. But they don't get relief because of a reduced lot size.
now, when they're talking existing, are they talking existing with the previous garage?
No, that was not calculated in this. It's existing without the shed that they have there now. I mean, if the shed was not there. The
Okay.
shed represents
it's-
2.5%.
right, okay. That was the question, right. They're gonna add a 2.5%.
I mean, it's already there, but that's what we're talking about. That represents 2.5% of the lot.
Okay, but we don't know what the size of the previous garage was.
No, there was mention of a previous garage. I never saw a previous garage. So I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but those calculations were not done with a previous
Okay.
garage included.
So I have a question, on this. It says that they're proposing 34% coverage. So is it 32.4 or is it 34?
That's on their application?
If you read the writing on the side of this, proposing 34% coverage.
If that's what
Yeah,
they
but-
submit,
There's conflicting things because I was just looking, where did it say the 32? There's like a,
On that chart
Right.
that they did.
where did I see it? Oh, yeah. On the chart,
we're
the
gonna use-
32.4, but on the city tax map visual, it's 34%.
okay, so it sounds like one of our guys did a calculation and it sounds like the owner did a calculation. And I'm gonna tell you, I did my own calculation today. And that the proposed shed represents 3% of the lot. No question about that, 3%. I came up with an existing 29.2% covered already today. And then with that extra 3% comes out to 32.2%. And it sounds like one of my guys came up with 32.4%. So, I mean, we can't get a whole lot closer than that.
Okay.
But
We're
not
gonna use the 2.4.
34%.
Neither one of them came up with 34%. No.
Okay.
And also, just so I'm
So-
clear, this is one of those asking for forgiveness after the fact Dobbs?
It is. It is actually, when we first noticed it, it was a lot taller. They had constructed it and it was really about 16, 18 feet high. And so we approached them on that, and yeah, they didn't know they were supposed to get a permit and then therefore a variance. And I think it's like Ron says, I haven't seen the inside of it, but I've heard that they are using it for exercise equipment.
Have they cut it down already?
They have cut it down, yeah.
Because it sure looked big this evening.
It did. I think what you can see from the front is the high side of the shed roof.
Okay.
What is it sitting on? I'm sorry, I did not get the chance to go over there and I apologize. Do we have any like updated pictures of it actually sitting there?
We do have some pictures, but it was taken from the front. So I actually don't know what the base is. We'll have to ask the applicant.
Do you know if it's removable?
The base, you mean? I'm not,
One
no,
of
I'm
those
not sure.
sheds that you can buy from like All Sable or Malone or whatever and
No,
have it
they-
dipped in.
Oh, no,
They could-
no,
they
this is a
construct-
full up garage building.
They constructed, it's 12 by 15 square, rectangular, I mean. But yeah, it's not prefabricated that they got and put together.
Okay.
You have a picture of it, Kyle?
So, I guess the question is gonna be, Kathy's gonna do it, Scott's gonna do it, Kelly's gonna do it, and we need 2 people besides. So Ellie, you're doing the first one? I guess that's Megan and PJ, correct? Am I doing that right? I'm out. There's 6, and Ellie's out because she does the first one. So, TJ, get ready, buddy. And everybody understands it. Everybody understands the application. I mean, I guess I would say, and I'm not voting on it, but
Okay.
relatively it's a small amount, and I don't know, I don't think I'm even allowed to comment during it, or we say that I don't, so, but I think I'm not allowed to because they're my neighbor, and I think that it is important to keep single families happy in the neighborhood, that's all I'll say. All right, so that's
Ron,
those 2. and we
Ron,
know
can I
who-
say one thing?
What?
I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep up with what you're talking about as far as voting members, and we know that Megan's a full-time member now, right?
Oh, she is?
She's
oh, that's right.
a full-time member.
Oh, then actually that changes it. Ellie or Megan, you're gonna be, if you're a regular member, then we don't need an alternate, Ellie, sorry, on the first one. And then you're both gonna, then Ellie could be an alternate and you'd still be a regular on or PJ. But I guess PJ, I'm sorry to say this, don't be disappointed, but I think seniority is gonna trump you here, but it's okay, right? It's good for you to
That's
watch this. Would you? Okay, so.
But if he wants
it's
to, I don't
changing.
do that much.
You're bounced. So the first one, because Megan's a regular member, we don't need an alternate. Right? We have 5 regular members. The second one, Ellie, you'll be the alternate because I will not be participating. Megan will do both. PJ gets to observe and absorb. Thank you, PJ. By the way, as a quick aside before we get to Prime, 4 of us ended up being on a committee that Milena Tamer has for reviewing master plans and a bunch of other stuff. TJ, Megan, me, and Scott, and she realized that she didn't want that much representation from one board for one thing, but there's a problem with 3 members could constitute some kind of meeting. So Scott decided that he would step down, and between Megan and PJ decided that he would step down. So Megan and I are staying on the board, on the committee, and PJ graciously stepped down to allow Megan to have that experience. Okay, now Prime. We have 2 or 3 issues. Perhaps you've been reading the paper or seeing letters that have been going on, but as you probably know, at the August 27th meeting of the Common Council, they rejected Corey's invoices and said they were going to launch an investigation. And then at the September 3rd meeting of the Common Council, they actually launched that investigation, wherein they made a motion basically, and I watched it during the meeting and on YouTube after, where Councilor Barbell indicated that the council would hire a specific attorney at X amount per hour to investigate the actions of Ron Nolland hiring Corey. I wrote a letter, I sent it to the press after, I sent it to the councils, I sent it to everybody here. And I said if it wasn't resolved, we couldn't ask Corey to continue without the guarantee of being paid, and that we couldn't continue doing, hearing the city's application on behalf of Prime, which is what it is, without our chosen counsel. That letter was received by them on September 10th. Today is the 21st, so 11 days ago. There's been no action. There's been some discussion a little bit today about stuff, but basically, frankly, I wasn't even officially notified I was being investigated, although I said in my letter that it's obvious I am because you made a motion during the Common Council meeting and ratified it. All of the councilors voted to have my actions investigated except Stephen Brody. So that's an issue with Prime, hearing Prime today. I still continued to ask them for information regarding we had talked at our August meeting about the fact that the plans were incomplete, and Charles Gottlieb wanted to know in what way they were incomplete. And we gave them some examples, such as number of each type of unit on the floor, where exactly was the commercial space, and so on. And we hadn't heard, so I sent them some stuff on that. They answered. I still had some questions about commercial space. They answered. A board member had asked me sent me specifically a request regarding brewery questions. We asked those questions. I was asked to provide a copy of that email from the board member. I said no. Because all the questions could be considered from the board, and we had generally talked about that anyway, and all I did was have a synopsis of all the questions that anybody had asked me during that period. And then Dean DeVito said that they didn't know if they were having the brewery, so they didn't have to answer questions about the brewery. But anyway, that was we're at the point where we have not resolved that. There's been no action in any way. I haven't gotten subpoenas. I haven't actually really had anything other official. I've reacted to it, but I believe we're at a point where we're going to probably discuss, and that's part of why they're going first, the postponement of hearing the city's application or working on findings or anything until we're assured that we can have our chosen counsel at our disposal as we see fit. It's a very clear law, just so everybody understands. This is 360-61B of the code, which allows any of the boards in the city, not just us, to hire consultants, and that we use them to help in our review, and that can be engineers, attorneys, or any other professionals that we see fit. We don't get approval from anybody else. And then we submit, the invoices get submitted, the city pays them, and then collects that money from the applicant. And that's what the law says, in a nutshell. So that's what we're up against. We're gonna have to talk about doing that. The issue was raised today by Charlie Gottlieb, who sent us a letter indicating that he had heard that PCC, for one, was concerned that the application, that there was a 239M referral by the city planning board, city planner, and city planning board asking the county a referral of a previous hearing to have them rehear it based on changes because they considered it a new project. I'm not sure who started that. Did Prime ask the city? Did Milena? Did Milena do that because she thought it was different? But what we do know is that happened, and I believe that this was brought up by Charlie today in his correspondence to us that we all got, saying that he didn't believe that the zoning board's application needed to be referred to the county with a 239M referral. Some of the other history is that there were conversations between the city planner, the building inspector, and even at various times the county planner as to whether or not it was needed. PCC has brought this issue up. I had some concerns about it, and I had received concerns from other board members about that issue. So I think we want to discuss that also tonight, now that Charlie brought it up, and see if we do feel that, and again, this is not that we would be questioning anybody else's decision-making process. Whatever decisions the building inspector made, whatever decisions Milena made, or Glenn Cutter, relative to whether or not they thought a 239M referral was necessary. Now that Charlie sent us this letter because PCC supposedly wanted to know about it, and I had some concerns, frankly, and had had some correspondence about it. I think that we need to discuss that, and if we're going to react to that in any way, we should do that before we talk about postponement, or I'm not sure if the correct word is postponement or adjournment. I guess it would be postponement because we're anticipating opening it back up as opposed to adjourning when we don't know if we would. Is that correct, Corey? Would it be a postponement? Not a, right. So those are the issues that we have with Prime tonight. I'm sure I still have some questions, and we can talk to them a little bit about parking. But the two things, and I don't see any reason to discuss most of it, unless anybody has specific questions, either for me or Corey, before we go to the main meeting. But those seem to be the two issues. I still have some questions, frankly, about the plans, but at this point, I don't want to, frankly, accrue a lot more time for Corey that he's not guaranteed to be paid. And he's been gracious enough to come and help us with this meeting tonight, which is admirable, certainly. But I'd like to just, I don't think that there's any point in going through their plans or talking to them, or if they want to explain. There's time for that at the next regular meeting in October. And so anyway, does anybody have questions for me or Corey about either the postponement or the 239M referral? No. Good.
So quickly, Ron, if I may, I just want to update the board
Yeah.
that the city's corporation council did reach out to me today. The city is interested in negotiating my fee, which I advised him that I was amenable to a discussion regarding that. It's possible that if we are able to make some headway on that, some sort of proposal will be forthcoming that could be presented to the Common Council as early as Thursday. I have no idea what that's going to look like at this point, whether it will happen or not, or whether my firm eventually decides to agree to that. But I did want to update you that today,
Right,
the Corporation Council did reach out to me and that we are going to continue those conversations.
right. There was some conversation about that. I guess it's part of our privileged chats, right, Corey, in a sense. But what I will tell you is that, on a personal note, and we'll go to the 7 o'clock meeting in a minute, but I have pretty thick skin, and I have, call me whatever you want. I don't care, but this has been personally a little bit, and I've gotten a lot of correspondence from people saying how sorry they are, but this has been a pretty trying thing, and I'm looking to see that it gets resolved myself, but also in satisfaction to everyone concerned, and understanding that what we did was not incorrect, and was the information was available to everybody for a long time. So we can discuss that once they come to some kind of an idea of what they think. But frankly, personally, I think we've done everything we were supposed to properly, and I don't want to offer anybody any just easy way out. I'll say it that way. So I guess we're going to go from this now to the 7 o'clock meeting.
Ron,
We're going to hear, yeah,
I just want to go on record to say that I am absolutely in support of hitting the pause button on all things related to Prime at this point until this is resolved. I
Right.
personally think this is highly inappropriate that they waited this long to make this decision or even make a comment, let alone a decision.
right.
And I have zero interest in listening to anything Prime related until we know that Corey is, with us and that he's being paid. And like you said, I have no interest in wasting his time or my own to support a city decision when the city isn't supporting us.
All right, perfect. We will, we're going to go to the 7 o'clock meeting, I guess. We'll get out of this one. We'll leave this meeting and go to the 7 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. We have the board present. We got a lot of 21 participants. Let's see, there's 10 of us counting the building inspector staff. Is that correct? 7 and 3. All right. Good evening and welcome to the September 21st, 2020 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Plattsburgh. We will hear some applications this evening. We will take them in the following order. First, we will be discussing the city's application on behalf of Prime for the Durkee Street parking lot, the Durkee Street multi-use building. Second, we will hear Albert Phillips, 54 Elm Street, And third, we will hear Keith Baugh and his family for 85 Brinkerhoff. This evening, I have a conflict with, not Prime. I have a conflict with 85 Brinkerhoff Street because I live about 260 feet from there. They are my neighbor in the RH district here in Center City. So I will be recusing myself from that. We have 5 regular members here this evening: Kathleen, myself, Scott, Kelly, and Megan. We will hear when we get to it, the Albert Phillips application. And then afterwards, I will be recusing myself for the Brinkerhoff Street, and Ellie Gent will be, as the senior alternate, will be hearing that. First, we're going to be doing Prime, and that is Kathleen, me, Kelly, Ellie, and Scott. And we have Corey with us, our legal representative, and we have the building inspector. So I guess we are, if anybody has any other questions, we're ready to start with Prime. I'm sorry, with the city. So bring them on in, Ethan.
Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah. Hold on, Charlie. Yes, we can hear you. We'll wait till everybody's here. All right. So I will do because Dean Sneller likes me to, for one thing. I will do a roll call just to make sure who's present. Kathleen?
Here.
Scott?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
PJ?
Here.
Ellie? Megan?
I'm here, but I'm not here for this part.
Okay. And we have members of the building inspector here. Could you, I want to understand because sometimes I can't see this. We have Turner, Dean, Charlie, Steve, Matt. Is that it from the city and Prime?
We also have Dean DeVito, one of Prime's principals.
Right. Yeah, I said Dean.
Oh, okay.
So there's Dean the applicant. Is there also Dean? Are there 2 deans or 1 dean?
As far as I know, Prime only has 1 dean.
No, but is Dean Sneller here also?
That I cannot answer.
I don't see him.
I don't believe so, Ron. I texted him to see if he was going to hop on, but I haven't heard back.
Okay. Matt's here. Okay, so Matt, I just want to make sure everybody that's here. Matt, Turner, Dean DeVito, Charlie, Steve. That's it, correct, from everyone. Hi, Turner. That is the group from the city and Prime. Okay, good evening. Were you guys watching the pre-meeting at 6:30 also?
I was, yes.
Okay. So, as you know, I don't think anybody doesn't know, but just in case, we have a couple of issues tonight. The first issue is that the Common Council had passed two motions, or whatever they call their things. We call them motions. Anyway, the first one on August 27th, rejecting the invoices from our chosen legal counsel and asking to start an investigation. The second one on September 3rd, where they hired an attorney to commence that investigation. And I will use the phrase that Councilor Barbell used, into the actions of Ron Nolan, the chair, hiring of the attorney for the zoning board. A little bit misinformed because it was the entire board that I did sign the agreement that hired him. But anyway, that's another whole issue. Correspondence happened after, and I indicated to the council and anybody else that I copied on this, which included Matt, the building inspector, the councilors, and the mayor, that until it was resolved, we would not continue hearing the city's application on behalf of Prime. And I want to be clear, correct, that this is the city's application. Our applicant, when I look at the application, it says City of Plattsburgh. Is that correct, Matt? Yes, thank you. So that does put the city in an odd position, being that they have to collect those fees for Corey from the applicant and it's themselves. Anyway, so that's one issue. Charlie, you had also sent a letter today that brought up an issue that I'd been thinking about and talked about a little bit, which was the 239M referral that was done by the planning, by Milena, I believe, to the county planning board. I'm not sure how that got initiated, but anyway, you brought that was, we had some correspondence about that today, and that, I don't know if I had seen it, but that PCC was indicating that, I don't know if I saw your letter about it, but I don't know if I'd actually seen that demand. I'm not sure what it was in. But anyway, that the question was if the project had changed enough to warrant a 239M referral from the planning department on behalf of the city planning board, why was it not, didn't that change in the project warrant referring us? And you gave I read the letter. I mean, it was fairly, honestly, and I'm not faulting you on this, but, and I think you were reacting to what was happening, correct? But it was relatively late, so we haven't had much chance to react to that, but it is a topic for discussion. So we have tonight, and I don't want to spend a lot of time because, again, Corey is, you heard me say in the meeting, but is gracious enough to help us tonight on this meeting doing the postponement and now, frankly, discussing the 239M referral that you brought up. And then we're going to postpone because he did mention that there's some discussion about resolution with the council. We'll see how that goes. I'm not sure what there is. There's bills to be paid, and then we get back on with hearing Prime, which we all want to do, by the way. I want you to understand that. This is not, contrary to what people might think, we can all be conspiracy theorists. This is not some big theory, big conspiracy on especially my part to try and stall the Prime application. I have important things I want to talk to you about that I think are good suggestions for the project and ways that we can deal with some stuff. And then we need to understand the parking and we need to understand a bunch of stuff, but we can't act without our counsel. And I think you understand that, Charlie. And if you were our counsel, if we had hired you instead of Corey, I would think you'd want us to take the same action to defend our right to hire you. So anyway, that said, those are the two issues. And I think that before we do the postponement issue, I'd like to talk about the 239M referral that you brought up. And I guess, wait, just one second, I'll get to you because I'm going to ask you to comment. Just give me 1 minute. I'd like to talk about that. And I'd like to understand a couple things that you can touch on. And then we got your letter. Is that letter, by the way, is that letter considered now part of the official record? Joe. Right, that's a comment just like any other comment we would get from anybody, isn't it, Charlie?
That letter was in direct response from a PCC letter submitted to this board on September 18th, asking for that re-referral to happen. I didn't bring this issue up. The PCC did on September 18th.
Right, I understand that. and
Both
you
letters
reacted
be
to
part
it.
of the record.
Right, okay. And so I guess I'd like to understand, and we're going to get to the postponement in a minute, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but this was actually, I will tell you, was a concern of mine. I didn't know, I'll give you a little quick history. I didn't know that the city planning board's application got a brand new referral because the project had changed. I'm not sure, did the city planner decide to do that, or was that something that was worked on as a group discussion that it should happen between Prime, the city, and so on? And I don't think it was a wrong decision to go back to the county. It was, I don't think the vote came out the way you necessarily wanted, and I think they might be re-voting. I'm not sure. But the question is why it was referred, and would that have applied to us? This is in no way, by the way, meant to question, at least in my mind, the decisions of the building inspector, the city planner, or frankly, the county planner in any way in their determination that whether or not it should have gone. This is strictly, we've heard this discussion and we'd like to discuss it as a board and understand if we think that a 239M referral is necessary. If it was necessary, we'd ask the building inspector to do it today. And he would have to have until the 25th to turn it in. And that referral would be for the October 7th meeting, which is certainly not a delay anyway. But anyway, that's what we know about it. So Charlie, now, can you want to talk to us specifically about the 239M referral and why it was done and why you think we're different?
Sure. So just to back up a little bit, in March of this year, all applications were referred to the County Planning Board pursuant to General Municipal Law 239M. The only application that was deemed to be of county-wide importance and therefore not a local issue was the site plan. And the County Planning Board disapproved of the site plan. And when they did that, rightfully so, they made comments. Now it is incumbent upon the applicant to try to address those comments if they can through site design issues, and then resubmit to try to demonstrate that you have complied with the county comment, and therefore the county is satisfied and you would hope to obtain an approval. A lot of the county comments that we got on the site plan were related to building setbacks. So Ron, that was a big issue that we had with the ZBA was, the building's too big, let's reduce the setbacks. So we did, and we reapplied the site plan to the county because the things that were changed to the project and the building only relate to the site plan, right? We changed the building configuration a little bit. We reduced the setbacks, all the things that you guys saw throughout this process. So, we thought that we had addressed some of the county comments, so we referred back. In addition, when there are substantial changes that are made to an application that were not embraced within the prior review of the county, an applicant should go back to the county planning board. And if they don't, that is a loophole that any opponent of the project, and we certainly have our opponents here, might have during litigation. At that time, however, it was the determination of all involved that there was no need to refer the planning board's PUD application and the ZBA's special use permit applications. And there were no need to refer those because the changes did not impact those applications. So I'll specifically address the ZBA special use permit applications.
Sure, very briefly, don't forget the planning board's minor subdivision application, which was also not resubmitted to the county board.
Correct. And I don't even think that was required to be submitted in the first place because the county planning board doesn't have approval from their legislature to review subdivision applications. So when we look at the ZBA applications, right, they're for special use permits. One is for placement of the boundaries of the PUD. That did not change one bit from March. We are not changing the boundaries of the PUD. The other is a request for residential units on the first floor. That special use permit also did not change. The case law that I cite in my letter says that when there's a substantial change or an increase, right, that's when you would refer, right? So if the county saw an application, and I'm just using these numbers as hypothetical, for 3 apartments on the first floor, and then they issue their approval, and then we change the project to 30 apartments on the first floor, that might trigger re-referral. But instead, the configuration that was changed here was a reduction of those residential units on the first floor. So there was no change to the applications that the ZBA has in front of them. You know, there were changes to the site plan, most definitely. You know, we changed what the building looked like from an architectural standpoint. We pulled in the setbacks, all good changes in my mind. That's why we were hopeful the ZB or the county planning board would have changed their mind on the disapproval. Well, that was a bit of a whirlwind of a meeting. So those are our arguments as to why referral is not appropriate in this manner. Now, I imagine just from being involved in this, that the opposition is going to say, well, parking is different, right? However,
Right.
the county planning board saw our alternate parking calculation method, right? The method that we used in the Hamlet, the method that we're applying now. That calculation that the county board specifically said is of local issue has not changed. The only thing that's changed is the difference in the rearrangement of the commercial square footage, which then when you put into that calculation, changes the demand of parking as we've discussed.
Okay.
However, that calculation was embraced in the prior application, you know, and so
All right.
I understand just one more thing, you know, subjecting an applicant to an additional approval process that is not required under the law, to me just seems unnecessary. I set forth in my letter the reasons why it's legally unnecessary. And to be honest, it does feel as though if we have to take this additional unnecessary step to a county planning board that you know, clearly has its opinions, then you know it's unnecessary and inappropriate, and there's no reason for it.
Okay.
That's our stance.
All right. Okay, Charlie, thanks. Now, I understand all that, and I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to let the other board members talk about this. I don't want to spend a lot of time truly because I'm frankly partly concerned about Corey. I want to get into the other applications, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it. But this relative to the 239M referral, the fact of the matter is, and this is something that was brought up last time when you were here in August, the parking has changed. The parking demand based on our zoning ordinance, which some people are going to say is outmoded. I don't particularly think it is. We tell every other developer to it. That's another whole issue. But your demand went from 317 calculated to 369, and what you're providing stayed basically the same. What I would tell you is that I would believe that there's an argument to be made, and again, we've heard your opinion, Charlie, so now I'm going to turn this over to the board members. But there is a concept here, and I'm going to ask some a little bit of legal advice since we've got Corey here still, that since parking is one of the 5 criteria that we use, when we analyze special use permits, both for first floor residential and frankly for boundaries, that parking is one of our very strong criteria that we use in general in zoning to control density. But in this particular case, the parking deficiency, whether whether you have a front-end restaurant or not, and we hear different reports about whether there's a brewery or not a brewery, is not the issue. The question is whether that if the changes were substantial enough, and I know we got a local, our application was not really approved, it was considered a local issue with comments, correct? That's what we had. So the question is if it was necessary enough for you to send it back for the city planning board, does that deem it necessary enough to go back for us? And I heard your stuff. I just want to hear what maybe the board members don't think it is, maybe they do, but I want to start asking the board members what they think about this issue, and also Corey. Joe, did you have a question?
Can I speak to this real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so just want to make sure that you understand from city staff the circumstances around this. So I definitely did not feel that this needed to be re-referred, and it seems like everybody else felt that way too. But on or about the deadline date that I knew that the planning office was sending back their site plan to the county, I had Lisa call upstairs to make sure that they weren't waiting on us to bundle a re-referral there. And I don't think Matt was in that day, and she talked to Milena, who had talked to Glenn from the county, and they had discussed this, and everybody agreed that the zoning aspect did not change and did not have to be re-referred. And then I talked to Glenn myself and confirmed his position. Glenn Cutter, I'm talking about now. And, Glenn's position was that, projects change a little bit. When they go to the county, it's at the very beginning of a project, and projects change a little bit. They don't all have to be re-referred because they never get bigger, they get smaller. And I just talked to Glenn again today to reconfirm that position. So that's how that happened. Right. We all looked into it and came up with the same conclusion.
Right. And Joe, again, as I said before, this is not in any way questioning any decision making by you, Milena, or Glenn, and your interpretation of what is going on, which is all we all do anyway, is make interpretations of situations and say, sometimes it's very clear. You got more than 10 parking places, you're going to you're going to the city planning board, or whatever it is. Sometimes these are more subjective, and so I thank you for that. And again, I'm not in any way questioning what happened before. The question is now, what would the effect be of if we asked you to do a 239M referral? Would it delay the project? Well, at this point, first of all, we've delayed you. You're delayed because we're going to be postponing you soon because of the invoice issue. If we did vote on that today, you'd be at the October 7th county planning board meeting. So I'm going to ask the board members to make comments about this now. If anybody on the zoning board, first of all, wants to discuss it.
I would like to hear Corey's opinion on the matter.
Sure. So here's what I'm willing to offer today. So I did receive Charlie's letter. I have not had an opportunity to review the case law that he cites in his letter. I did not receive a copy of the PCC letter. I don't know if any of you did. I certainly did not. So I'd be interested to see what Charlie was responding to. I will tell you that the failure to refer something to the county that is required to be referred is a jurisdictional defect, which means if you take an action and you fail to do county referral when it's required, the action is void. It is a nullity. I also know that there was a determination made, and I can't recall if it was on the request of the applicant. My memory is that it was, but that clearly that we're here this evening because there was proposed a new public hearing on this application. And in general, where there are project changes that are sufficient, that are sufficiently large, it can require that you hold a new public hearing. So it appears that it was at some point determined, by this board or requested by the applicant, that the project changes were sufficiently large so as to require a new public hearing on the special use permits. So as to whether or not it is required is a question of law. So if you don't send it and a judge determines that you were required to, any decision you make will be annulled. However, if you send it to the county and you weren't required to send it, that is not a jurisdictional defect. So your failure to do it if it's required renders your action a nullity, but doing it even if it's not required, even out of an abundance of caution or out of prudence, does not necessarily prejudice or invalidate your eventual decision. So I am certainly willing to review the case law that has been cited by Charlie and see if there is a legal basis to conclude whether or not a referral is in fact required. However, if I do that and you decide not to refer it tonight, and then eventually determine that a referral is required at your next meeting, that is going to further delay this process. Whereas if you send it to the county and it is before them at their October meeting, it will not further delay the process. So that's a long way of saying I'm not sure whether or not it is required in law. But if the concern is about timing, it may be a factor to consider when making your determination. And I'm happy to further expand upon that.
May I speak?
Well, I want to hear, Dean, you will be able to, I want to hear from the zoning board members first. So.
Fair enough. Yep, thank
Go
you.
ahead. Who next?
Well, after hearing Corey, I don't see a reason not to. If it doesn't delay the project at all, it's like, aren't we safer off referring it? And what is the applicant afraid, I shouldn't say afraid of, but what are they concerned about in resubmitting it to the county?
Right, okay. Kelly or Ellie?
So I guess my question is, what is there to be gained by resubmitting it? I think that we have hashed out so many details and we've gotten a very long way. Many of the changes that were made were to the benefit of the city and to the request of the zoning board, with, I think, the exception of this parking issue we still have to hammer out. But to what end, what would it serve us to have this resubmitted and kind of go backwards again? We're aware of the changes. I just don't see what the benefit would be. We're still going to end up exactly where we are right now. Can you tell me why would that, what would be the benefit of doing this?
Well, the question is not just that. First of all, it would allow the county, I'm assuming that they would probably find it a local issue again, but at least they've reviewed it and nobody can say that we didn't send it to them when we perhaps should have in future legal proceedings or whatever. And if for some reason somebody proves that it should have gone to the county, that we should have referred it, that the changes were large enough to make it referable, all of our actions on this will be void because we didn't follow that procedure. As opposed to if we do send it and it didn't need to go, there's no harm, no foul. I'm assuming that the only thing it would do is allow the county to maybe make a comment or two about whatever the parking. But again, as Charlie said, if most of these things have nothing to do with the boundary or whatever, they do have to do with the parking. The real issue is to make sure that we do this process right. Dean, I'll be right with you, I promise. But I want to hear every zoning board member first. So that's
If I can just
really-
add
that's
something,
really-
this may eliminate a lot of the board comments if you don't
Okay.
mind speaking first. I dropped off my internet for some reason, but when we were talking about the issue could be parking, and that could be the reason for referring it back to the county. The only change in parking, what we made for a change was a result and request made by the zoning board primarily. The addition of additional retail space was to help address the issues about the first floor apartments. I would prefer, we can just go back and put 5 more apartments in that space and we won't change the commercial. Then nothing has
Well-
changed and we don't need to send it back. And that's what
Right, okay, yeah, thanks, Dean, but we're not here, really, we're not talking about the plan or what final plan you give to us, whether it has a brewery or not, how many apartments, that's all part of that whole parking and resolution thing. We're here about 2 specific things. One, and just listen, 1, a 239M referral or not, and 2, postponement until this council resolves their thing. And I really don't want to go into why it is.
No, I know, but I just like to be able to speak.
I know.
I lost some of the conversation, so I just want some clarifications. And first off, Ron, I want to say on behalf of Prime, nobody thinks by any stretch that there's any conspiracy theory going on here.
Okay.
I just want you to know that from my standpoint and us, that's not, I heard you say it earlier, but anyhow, that's a set aside.
Thank you, Jim.
When I lost you guys with my internet, it sounded like the only issue that would require submittal back to the county would be because of parking. Well, if we keep the retail the same and we've reduced the amount of apartments, so we'll just change our plans and go back, keep the retail the same. We're doing that
I
as
understand that.
action to a request. So, I mean, that, I think if it's, what I'm trying to say is if your recommendation is going to be to refer it, then we'll just change our plans and there's not going to be a need to refer it.
Well, that's up to you if you want to change your plan. Thank you. Thank you very much. But now I want to hear from Kathy and Ellie, so then we can proceed to decide what we're doing here. Taking Charlie, we have Corey's advice. We've heard from Scott and Kelly. Kathy or Ellie, comments?
Hey, Ron, I just want to clarify for Dean, since he had dropped off. The suggestion that the only change that would give rise to re-referral was parking that was your attorney's position, that if there was something that, the PCC was going to seize upon, that it would be parking. That this board didn't decide that the only thing that would require re-referral was parking, but that's what Charlie suggested would likely be the trigger to do that. So I know that you dropped off, so I just wanted to clarify.
So just one question then.
Dean, I also want to clarify that I said that I personally thought that the issue left for me was the parking, but I don't speak for the rest of the board. And what you're saying is not accurate. The board did not say as a whole that the parking was the only issue. And I would like to hear from the rest of the board if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with Kelly in that I would really not like to add any further steps. However, if it's not going to add time and it would prevent the chance of us having to then go back and drag it out even longer, I don't see why we would not do it. I don't want to have anything come up where we then have to redo stuff we've already done, even more than has already been done.
Thank you. Kathy?
Yeah, so what is the deadline for getting it in front of the county planning board? When would the referral have to be submitted?
The referral is due, I guess, Friday, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be this Friday, right, Joe?
Yes.
I'm not really seeing a practical reason why we shouldn't. I haven't looked at it closely enough, and I wasn't even involved in last month's meeting, so I'm a little behind the rest of the group as far as the most recent changes, but I'm not convinced that parking is the only thing that might trigger a referral. But to me, it seems like practically not, I don't know why there would be an objection to it if it's not going to delay things. You know, if the applicant doesn't want to appear, I'm not even that familiar with county planning board proceedings. I don't know if they're doing meetings like we are. I assume you present the same way you present to the city. If the applicant doesn't feel the need to present anything or to speak on the application, let just sit, you know, as it is, speak for itself, then it's not a additional use of the applicant's time or their engineers or attorneys or their time. So, I mean, it just seems to me a bit of a no-brainer to go back.
Okay. All right, so we've heard from Ellie, we've heard from Kelly, we've heard from Scott and Kathy, and we haven't heard from me. So I will tell you that based on several things, that this has been brought up, and I frankly was not Charlie's letter today that brought it up. One of the things that happened, and again, I'm not faulting anybody's decision-making process, but the fact of the matter is that nobody came to the zoning board, and I'm not saying anybody should have. I found out that they were going to the county on Monday when I saw it in the paper of the week on Wednesday when they appeared. I watched the some of that county planning board meeting, not all of it, but I'm going to tell you that my concern always with this process, even on the simplest driveway, is that somebody can come back and say, we didn't do something we were supposed to. We didn't follow the process. We didn't do what we were supposed to. And because of that, our action, our determination is void or has to be altered. And that's always my concern with every applicant. You know, am I afraid of an Article 78 from somebody? I don't know. We've had them before. I'm still alive. So that's not the issue. And I frankly think that although this seems like a huge issue, the fact that the applicant was willing to go back to the planning board and try and get a denial overturned is not the same here. I don't, this isn't because I think it's going to go to the county and they're going to deny our application by any means. I don't see that happening. I don't think they have, I think it allows them to make comments, still consider us a local issue, whether it's about parking or anything else. And some of them might say that that Prime has mitigated some of their concerns that they commented on before a little bit. So that's my feeling. And what I'm going to do is, we've had discussion. We understand Prime's position on this.
I would just like to reply.
Wait, Charlie, I'm not quite done yet. We understand your position. We understand that Dean now says you can change the plans if you do that, and that if the plans are not ready to go to the county after we do the referral, have Joe do the referral on Friday, then that's up to you. If you want to postpone that.
There were some questions asked, like why refer it? Why does the applicant care, right? So we received a local determination, which means this board does not require a supermajority vote. It would appear as though now if you are unnecessarily subjecting us to the county planning board, which we don't know how they're going to say. It's a great assumption that they would again agree that it's a local determination. But having us go through an unnecessary approval that may have adverse impacts on us is not practical, and it does seem a little prejudice upon the applicant. And related to this only being the parking, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought, Mr. Chairman, I heard you say that it was the parking that would throw us into a county referral.
That is, and I'll tell you, and I really don't want to go to a long-winded thing because I'm trying to guide Corey's time. The fact of the matter is that I have twice now mentioned to you an alternate plan, once in an informational meeting we had, and secondly, in August, where the subdivision is changed. And I'm not going to go into this now, and that's not the purpose of this meeting because we're getting ready to postpone you. we suggested an alternate plan where you kept less commercial space, where you only had what you had there. If you want to change your plan again, which you've changed and have made some good improvements, that's up to you. But right now, we have two things on our plate. One, do we want to do a 239, ask the building inspector to do a 239M referral to the county by the 25th, so you're heard on the 7th. And two, we need to postpone this until it's done.
Can I speak again,
Go
Ron?
ahead, Matt. Dean.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
here's my concern, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got it wrong. My understanding is if it does go back to the county, and the county does decide that they have jurisdiction and they do give a negative recommendation, it would now mean a supermajority vote on the zoning board of appeals. That's my understanding, and that's my concern. If that is not a concern, and I misunderstood that, then I certainly agree with the other board members that it makes a lot of sense. Just go ahead and do it because it doesn't make any difference.
I guess what I would tell you, and Matt, I don't know if this covers what you're going to say, but Charlie, I'm going to go to you, Charlie, in a sense, what you said. You said there's no reason for them to change their opinion. It doesn't affect this. It doesn't affect the boundary. It doesn't affect first floor apartments. And it's still a local issue. If that's in fact the case, and you're confident that you feel that way, I don't see how the planning board, who already made that decision once, is going to change that. Our concern now is to make sure that we do our procedure the proper way. If this was a case where we were going to delay you for 2 months while it went to the county, I could understand this. But this is something that's going to happen by October 7th. So, Matt, I'll let you speak quickly, and then I'm going to ask the board to decide what they want to do.
I just wanted to ask Joe if he's aware of the last time this board questioned or reversed the decision of city staff in relation to a 239M referral. Joe, do you recall this ever happening before?
I can't recall it ever happening before, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Just put that on record, Ron.
Great. I got a question for you, Matt. I got one question for you, Matt. Do you ever recall the Common Council investigating the chair of a volunteer board for their actions in hiring a counselor? No, I don't recall. I don't recall that either. I can tell you what hasn't happened in at least 21 years, and probably before. So, you know, I'm sorry. I am not questioning in any way at all, city staff or county staff. What I'm questioning is our ability as a board to decide how we want to run our process. This is a simple thing, has minimal effect. I didn't expect everyone, Charlie and you were going to go, oh yeah, great, good idea. Let's hear what they have to say. On the other hand, we have an important stuff. We got other applicants and we've got to get on. So I want to thank everybody for their opinion, including the board. Does anybody on the board feel like they'd like to make a motion regarding this?
Kathleen, you were going to say something?
No, I mean, I was only going to make a comment that I certainly haven't been serving on this board anywhere near as long as Ron, and prior to that had really no knowledge of its workings. Many years didn't even live here, but my understanding is that this project, the size and impact and public interest in this project, and even the requirement for a GEIS for a project like this is unprecedented in the city. So a lot of things are unprecedented here. And I don't think it's out of line for us to want to be as conservative as possible as we go through the procedural requirements, even if, you know, it might seem redundant or it might seem unnecessary. But my other thought too was in response to Charlie, that if the county does decide differently than they did last time, I mean, I assume Charlie would, you know, there's some sort of vehicle for challenging that. So if he feels that they make a different decision and they didn't have a, you know, rational basis for that, or whatever their standard of, whatever their burden is or standard is there, that he would question that and he would vigorously, advocate for his client as he has done up to this point. So all is not lost if the county decides differently than before. So those are.
Well, we would just hope that it never gets to that point, because that would be unnecessary litigation.
Well, my thought is if they make a decision different from the last time, doesn't that kind of indicate, at least from their perspective, that it wasn't unnecessary?
Sure, it is the law that an administrative body must adhere to its prior precedent. That being said, I am not about to predict what the county planning board is going to do. Therefore, sending us back for an unnecessary approval has the potential impact to prejudice my client in a very significant manner. And I just hope this board weighs that as they make their determination. You know, I can't give you legal advice. I am very confident in the fact that referral is not required. You know, please lean on your attorney, get his advice, and make your decision.
Thank you, Charlie.
To that
Okay.
end, to that end, board, if you prefer not to table this and have me look into it and then make the decision about sending it at your next meeting, I would be more than happy to do that. But just keep in mind that that's going to cause additional delay.
I'm just gonna, I guess the comment period is still open because we haven't had a motion. I think the part of this that makes it more acceptable in general is the fact that the timing of it is such that on today's the 21st, there's 4 days to get it into the county, which is more than enough time to do a 239M referral, and that it would be heard on the 7th. And that if otherwise, by the time we'd have you do this, we can talk about it at the October meeting or when this is still, I don't see that as being, but that's my opinion.
Just
Anyway,
one
my
other
question is, because
One other quick thing is that may not be possible because if we do decide that we're going to go back to keeping the exact same number of retail square footage and submit a plan that's different than we have now, then we're going to have to revise the plan, get the plan back out.
absolutely,
County,
Right.
and it's going to delay the process.
right. Let's quickly, and I'll just go to this, Dean, very quickly. Let's assume that at some point, the Common Council resolves their issues with Corey's, with our council, with an SEL, and that that issue gets resolved and we can start to work on findings. And so again, we certainly want the most current plan, and we're trying to, everybody's on the same path, which is trying to get the proper project done that works for everyone. Okay, so that said, this is something that's important, and I want to get this done, and then I want to go to the postponement so we get rid of Corey. Does somebody on the board want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion in regards to Appeal 2232, based on the new plan that has been submitted to us, that we request the building inspector re-refer the 239M referral to the county planning board.
Okay, do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Kathleen seconds it. All right. Because I want to do this, Joe, are we all going to chat with you to send in our vote? I don't want to do this by a show of hands.
No, send it to Lisa.
Lisa, I'm sorry. Okay, Lisa. So we're going to chat with Lisa. So everybody chat with Lisa. A yes vote. A yes vote to Lisa is to have it go to the county. Okay.
Okay,
Do
so
we have? Do you have all the votes, Lisa?
I'm on my phone, so it makes it a little more difficult. So I have Kathleen, yes.
Yes.
Ron, yes.
Yes.
Scott, yes.
Yes.
Kelly, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly, no.
Correct.
Ellie, yes.
Yes.
Those are all the votes I got.
That's right. That's what it should have been.
Okay.
And
For
Hey,
some
Joe,
reason,
before you submit the plans to the county on Friday, I don't want to waste everybody's time again. It's very likely we'll be altering them prior to resubmission to the county. So I just don't want to waste
Okay.
everybody's time. We have to have that decision.
Okay, so this is what I'd like to do. We've authorized Joe to do a new 239M. Joe, why don't you get that ready? Without the plan, Dane, then you can talk about what plan you want submitted with our 239M.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay?
Yep. that sounds-
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's that issue. Secondly, then, is that we want to talk about the postponement. And I don't think anybody in the city, and probably that read the newspaper, knows that this doesn't know that this was coming. As I said, that we can't pay Corey. We have no authorization to keep him employed. We do not want to continue our hearing of the city's application on behalf of Prime until we can use Corey. And so I'm looking for a motion to postpone, not adjourn, postpone any action, including working on findings or hearing, other than what we just did for the 239M. Anyway, any further action until that issue is resolved to the satisfaction of the entire board and Corey.
I would just like to say one thing from Prime's perspective.
Hey, Charlie,
Yes.
Charlie, just hang on a second. Wait for the chair. Please wait for the chairman to recognize you. If you want to speak, you can ask for his permission to speak, and if he gives it to you, then you can speak.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to, set forth our position that we hope this can come to a resolution and we can continue with this application. We do not want to see this withheld for any unreasonable amount of time. We are out of this fight. This appears to be between the city and the ZBA, but we hope that it does not unreasonably delay the processing of the application.
Right. What I would tell you is that it's my interpretation that, just before we go to a motion, that the applicant is not Prime, it's not you. The applicant is the city of Plattsburgh. And that applicant is causing their own woes by not following their rules and regulations and not helping us secure and pay our council as promised. So once they resolve that, we are certainly ready and happy to start doing this again. Listen, this has consumed my time and my waking up in the middle of the night for way, way, way too long. And yours too, and everybody's. So we want to keep moving, but we can't do it under these circumstances. But thank you for your opinion. I'm looking for a motion from the board regarding a postponement that I just discussed.
Yeah, I'll make the motion, Ron, and I want to point out, because I don't know that it's been particularly made public, but from the moment that we started to have concerns regarding the dual role that Dana Schneller was in as far as the applicant's attorney and advising us simultaneously on this application, and from the moment I connected with Corey's firm and consulted with him about the applications in front of us and the concerns we had, and this was April 21st, 2020, I did advise Dean and the building inspector's office that we were looking to retain our own counsel. That was on a Tuesday, the 21st of April, and once I connected with Corey and I notified the rest of the board members that I'd identified someone I thought would do a great job for us. At the end of that week, Friday, April 24th, I sent Corey's retainer agreement, fee engagement letter to Dean Schneller and the city building inspector's office. So they were completely aware as of that date, April 24th, 2020, that we were looking to hire a specific person at a specific rate, with all the terms available, with no retainer amount, and all the terms were there, right there outlined in his retainer letter. And I never received any response from anyone on any aspect of that agreement. So much like what Kelly expressed earlier in the meeting, I'm finding the city's approach to Corey's bill and the actions they've taken to be really absurd and offensive. And so on a procedural level, I think it makes sense to me, and that's why I would move to postpone any review of the applications in front of us on this project until that is resolved, as you said, to our satisfaction, which would of course involve Corey's satisfaction. So that's my motion.
I second that motion.
Okay. I'm going to again do this with a yes vote to.
Before you go ahead,
Or
Ron,
no vote, I'm sorry.
Ron,
I'm sorry. Yo,
Ron.
go ahead. Oh,
before you go
discussion, right?
ahead, do we want to include in there, based on where we are right now, to require an escrow account going forward?
No, well, we could. I mean, that is allowed to us. That's a good question. It's allowed to us as part of the ordinance. I guess the city.
The city
could
has
require-
not been playing nice in this ball game here.
Right. I think an escrow account would require that we have some sort of an estimate of how much we're going to spend, so we know how much to put in that. And I think that right now we're not willing to limit the amount we're going to spend.
Okay.
But you know, perhaps an amendment would be that after it's resolved to the motion, that if we want to, if the city is not doing it, that we can still require an escrow account. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If we have a problem with payment?
Yes.
Kathleen, do you want to amend your motion to include the, although it's law anyway, but.
Can you just restate that, what you specifically want the motion to be amended to say?
That the board reserves its right to require the applicant to put money in an escrow account if need, according to the ordinance.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so amended.
Okay. And who seconded that? Kelly, is that okay for your second?
Yes.
Okay. So to Lisa now, send your vote, whether it's a yes or no vote, to postpone this. A yes vote is to postpone.
Okay, so I have a yes from Ron,
Yes.
yes from Scott,
Yes.
yes from Kelly,
Yes.
yes from Ellie,
Yes.
and a yes from Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, passes 5-0. Listen, thank you very much, Prime. Hopefully we'll get the city to resolve this soon. We get back to it. Dean, let us know, let the building inspector know, and if you want to copy us on any emails of what you're thinking, please do it. That is due by Friday. I don't know what their procedure is for modification once it's been submitted. So thank you very much, Prime. We're going to go on to our next stuff.
Thank you.
Hey, Corey,
Bye-bye.
thank you very much, Corey. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Matt.
Thank
Corey,
you,
we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. I just want to say before I exit how much I appreciate the zoning board's support. And although there's no reason for me to apologize per se, I do want to say that it's unfortunate that this has become a distraction from you doing the good work that you guys do and continue to do. But I do appreciate your support and look forward to commencing review with you when this is resolved.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Corey.
much, Corey. Thanks very much. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda, we have Albert Phillips. And Evan, I assume that he's been waiting patiently in the wings. Is he here? Do you know? Hi, Albert. I think you're muted, Albert.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, now we can. Perfect. Are you on your phone, not a computer, correct?
On my phone.
Great. Okay. Hi, Albert. My name is Ron Noland. I'm the chairman of the board. Big, just like James Brown or somebody like that. All right. So, Albert and Karen Phillips of 54 Elm Street in Plattsburgh. You want to repave existing driveway and provide a small area for tenant off-road parking. Our understanding of this, Albert, is that, and we all have your application, and we've looked at it. I don't know if you attended the 6:30 meeting when we talked about this or not, but you didn't have to, it wasn't required or anything. You're having your driveway redone, and you said, boy, I'd like to put a spot there for my tenant. And the problem is, and I'll ask the building inspector to clarify it, or the building inspector's office, the problem is that you want to put a parking space that is partly in the front yard setback. Is that correct, Joe?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And do we know what that deficiency is?
The house itself is 20 feet back, okay? And if you can see in this picture.
I have the overhead, Joe.
Oh, you do? Okay, if you can pull that up, that'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, so it's at middle of 54 Elm Street. The back of that car is 13 feet from the sidewalk.
Is that right up tight to that porch?
No, it's about a foot away, foot and a half.
Yeah, but that's it, right? That's the space.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the applicant.
No, but that's what you're saying, right? So 7 feet into the front yard setback. Plus, well, it's the parking space. It's not the paving to it, correct, Joe?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he needs to access that area.
Right, but it's not a legal parking space.
It's not a legal parking space. No, parking spaces are required to be in the side or the rear.
Right, and this is in the front. Some of it would be in the side, right?
A portion of it is in the front, yes.
Now, see, it's okay. So that parking area. Albert?
Yes.
How many is this a two-family home?
Yes.
Okay. And do you live there?
Yes, I do. The issue isn't so much in the summertime, okay, because the tenant can park across the street. There's plenty of parking across the street. The issue comes up when snow removal. I have to get the car off the road, because there's bans on off-road parking. So the tenant parks right next. They've been parking there for like 7 years already. It just since I was going to repave, since I was going to repave the driveway, I said, wow, instead of shoveling my lawn all winter long, it would be a lot easier if I had asphalt there, and it didn't cost that much more. And so I didn't realize I would have to submit for a zoning variance, and here I am.
Understand.
And but
with 5
But it-
strangers trying to figure out your future.
Yeah, it'll be easier on me shoveling and so forth if I could shovel off asphalt instead of my lawn every winter time.
Right, I got
But
it. So
it's
let me open this up to the board. I think we all understand what you're asking for. I'm going to open up to the board for comments, and then I'll remember to open it to the public after. But anybody on the board want to question or make comments or concerns? Scott, you have a comment?
No, sorry, I was just scratching.
Oh, okay. But no comment?
I have some questions.
Okay, go ahead, Kelly.
So hello, Mr. Phillips. This is Kelly Porter.
Yes.
I'm just curious, how many tenants are in that building currently?
It's a 2-family. It's only 1 tenant.
Okay. And how much parking do you have in the back? I was looking at that photo that was up just a minute ago. It looked like there was,
Yeah, I have 2 cars in the back, which belong to my wife and myself.
okay, so technically there is no tenant parking designated at this point.
That's correct.
I noticed.
Well, we didn't know we had to have it designated, to tell you the truth. It's, I'm sorry, but I didn't really know. They've always parked in that little section there during the winter time. In the summertime, they park across the street, but because it's just easier. So we have that whole big parking section across the street. That's it's a lot for it used to be the school.
Yeah, I know right where that is. I used to live right there on Palmer Street. I'm struggling. I'll be honest. One of the things that I think our board is pretty well known for is not establishing parking in the front of a house like that. I think it does set a precedent of sorts, and that's a struggle for me. And I guess one of the things I was looking at that bird's eye view of your property, any potential for paving on the side of the garage in the back? I mean, I'm sure you'd have to ask for a variance for that too, but it seems more.
Yeah, no, because they wouldn't be able to get through our cars. Okay, the problem with the tenant was they want to get out when they want to get out, not when we have to move our cars for them to get out. Right. And I have a narrow access to the back.
Comments from other board members or questions? Or Kelly, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Was that your only question, Kelly? I didn't mean to.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Kathy or Megan?
How long has this been a 2-family home?
Ever since I purchased it.
Okay, when did you purchase it?
29 years ago.
Oh. And Albert, have tenants been parking there on the grass for 29 years?
No, just recently. Okay. Well, when I say recently, I mean like the last 7 years or so.
Right.
Kyle,
Megan,
can you
any questions?
That view up again of the front of the house?
Excuse me?
I'm asking Kyle if he can put up that picture again and just kind of vacillate between the two.
Okay. Did you want something, Kelly?
No, sorry, I thought I was muted.
Okay. All right. Do we have, Scott, did you have any questions about this?
I do not.
Okay. Kathy, Megan? Okay. I'm going to open this to the public. Who knows if somebody's raising their hand, Kyle or Ethan?
I'll check on.
Is anybody raising their hand?
No, no one's on.
Okay. Does anybody, we have a seeker. Does anybody have any more discussion about this application? Concept of whether they would like to approve it or not approve it, or I want to do the seeker first, I guess? Shall we do the seeker?
Before you go on, Ron, I was looking at this. Would they get a second space if they move the stairs to the front of that porch?
You mean next to the porch, Scott?
Exactly. I mean, the driveway is shown as 12 feet now. And what's standard width of a parking space? 8, 9 feet?
9 feet. They're proposing an 8-footer here, but.
And you're 12.
Yeah, there would be an overlap into the main driveway. Slightly, but it works. It's worked for the last 7 years, so it's not.
No, but what Albert, what he's saying is if you took the stairs on that porch and moved them to the front of the porch from the street, right there.
Oh, yeah, it's concrete.
Concrete stairs?
Yeah, they're not wooden stairs.
It's got lattice on the side.
Right.
Yeah, to the side, but there's a concrete slab there that starts the stairs. Okay. What are you proposing anyway?
So the stairs aren't, just that first step is concrete.
Yeah, it's a big concrete slab. Yeah, that's correct.
Did that answer, Scott? Do you want to pursue this?
It's just an option to keep in mind that if we opt not to, and
right,
like you say, we're never really thrilled about allowing parking in the front yard. And I think that if that were moved around, and moving a concrete slab isn't very hard for a paver to get in there and dig that out. But, and I think that then you would have possibly enough room where you have double parking all the way back.
I agree, Scott, and I, Mr.
That's not going to give us enough room. That's let me look at the measurements there. But yeah, 2 cars can't get by that section. Let me look at the thing there. He doesn't have a measurement. It's only like 12 feet across.
The driveway is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Why?
And do you think that from the driveway to the top of the stair to the platform of the porch is another 6 feet?
No, it's maybe 2.5 feet that sticks out into the 12-foot section. Okay.
From the stairs. And
Yeah.
then 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 4 feet of risers, so it's probably 6 feet. So that'd be 18 feet counting the driveway, Scott, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, there's part of the house that's behind that porch. Okay, that sticks out.
Right.
That's house there. All right. He doesn't show it in his.
Yeah, it's the same depth as the porch, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you have nothing to gain by removing the concrete, really. You know, you gain a couple.
He's talking about
Yeah.
moving Albert. He's talking about moving the stairs and the concrete.
Yeah, well, the stair,
He said put the steps on the front.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You gain-
I'd have to
I'd
have to measure it. Yeah, I'd have to measure it, but I don't think that's enough room. I mean, you need 9 feet, right? For a car.
Although you're
Yeah.
showing an 8-footer. You're showing a standard parking space is
Yeah.
9 feet wide and 18 feet long.
Yeah,
But
9 by 18.
you're not even necessarily asking. You're not using this as a standard parking space to meet a number of spaces or anything like that. The question is, if you had 18 feet during the winter, remember, right?
Yeah.
If during the
That's
winter
correct.
you had 18 feet wide by
Mhm.
moving those steps, and we understand that there was some, but this is really a thing that we don't like. We don't like parking in the front yard, so we're trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
So
But there's
what I could,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay. What I would tell you is that if you can get 18 feet, then during the winter, also, I don't know if the driveway is 3 feet from the property line or not. Is it more than that?
I don't think so.
These property lines are no good, Joe, right?
No.
Yeah, it's a very narrow lot.
Yeah, okay. So what Scott is saying, let's look at it this way. What Scott is saying, and Kelly also now, is that if you could get rid of those steps and move them around to the front of that porch.
Mm-hmm. I
You
still
could
wouldn't have
put the
enough
car-
room. Yeah. They don't give you that much room. The stairs do. I mean, I could go out and measure it right now if you would like.
Yeah, would you go ahead? We'll pause for a minute. Do you mind?
Okay,
Go out
all
and
right.
measure it. I'd like
Okay.
Albert, hold on. I'd like to know 2 things. If you know where your property line is, fine, but if not, don't worry about that. I want to know from the right edge of the driveway looking in all the way over to the deck of that porch. That's what we want to know. The top of the porch, okay? Right, Scott?
Correct.
Right. And if we can get them to do that, then you won't even need a variance.
The other aspect, like you said, it's only in the winter time when they have snow.
Because you're going to get
Right.
rid of this.
But if you let them pave it, I don't, if you want to know the truth, I think this is better, but I don't particularly myself have a huge problem
How many inches
with
is
the
it?
7 feet in the front. Honestly.
Well, yeah.
Straight over it. Look, it's got to be straight up. That's it. That.
He's not gonna need a variance if that's the route you're going.
That's right. That's right. You give him back his money, Joe. No, I don't think you do you?
No.
I didn't measure the driveway across. I do that.
To the cement steps, right?
Yeah. How are we doing, Albert?
I'm back.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I got some measurements for you.
Perfect.
Okay. To the width of the driveway at that point is 10.5 feet.
Okay.
The concrete steps and the wooden steps are 5 feet. So it would give me a width of 15.5 feet.
No. Not enough.
And the
Right.
property line, the property, I think I have about 1.5 feet before my property line. We have a little strip of grass there, and I think I got about 1.5 feet of that. That's
Right.
I have to.
And
that I
that-
could.
Oh, more that you could add, you mean? No, because you gotta be 3 feet from the property line. Yours would be grandfathered in. Yours would be grandfathered in as a pre-existing non-conforming condition because that driveway's been there so long. But
Yeah,
for zoning, okay.
The next house is really close. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I like that idea, but I don't see how they can possibly fit it. Would you agree, Scott? Kelly?
I agree.
Okay. So let's go to thank you, Albert, for doing that. Let's go to the seeker. Of course, Albert, I hate to be critical, but item number 2 on there is not a no, it's a yes. You need a variance. It says, who do you need stuff from? You need a variance from ZBA and a building permit. So we want to change that.
Well, I don't know what you're
Otherwise-
talking about. You gotta tell me what you're talking about first. I'm
that's
not
okay.
familiar. I'm not familiar with your terms.
Yeah, no kidding. We aren't either. I mean, we are actually, but all right. Does anybody on the board have anything else besides that issue? On the seeker I'm talking about. No? If not, I'm looking for a motion regarding the seeker.
I'll make a motion.
Go
A
ahead.
motion in regards to the, it was a short environmental assessment form for appeal number 2248, that after review of part 1, the questions in, the 11 questions in part 2 be checked, no or small impact may occur. And as a result of that, the chair check in part 3, the box that we've determined that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts.
Seconded by
I'll second.
Kathy. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay. So that's the seeker. Is there more discussion on this? Does anybody want to make any other comments? Are we looking to make a motion regarding allowing a 7-foot encroachment into the front yard setback? Joe, one other question. No, are there coverage issues or anything?
No.
Okay. So the strictly an issue of encroaching 8 feet wide, we'll call it, by 7 feet, 56 square feet into the front yard setback. Is that correct? Approximately.
That's right.
Who wants to, does anybody want to make a motion?
I just had a question. He measured that driveway at 10.5 feet. but they're showing, they're gonna do 12 feet. Where does the
Uh,
additional,
Yeah, that's because of the concrete block is, yeah, it's kind of weird. Those steps come down and then I have this huge concrete slab that sticks out, which narrows it to 10.5 feet at that point. But the driveways are slightly wider at the back end, at the front end, and at the back end when it goes to the garage. Okay, I have like a little narrow constriction there.
Right. Sort of hourglass.
is that 12 feet where it hits the sidewalk?
Yes, it's there's a portion that's beyond the sidewalk too that has to be paved. I have a concrete sidewalk that runs in front of my house.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Google view of your driveway.
Okay.
And you can see the apron coming in is actually narrower than your driveway.
Yes.
If you do street view, it's very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion, I guess. We need another detail. How far out from the front of the house towards the roadway will that paved area stick? We don't have that dimension.
Yeah, what he was going to do was he was going to try to make it cosmetically nice and kind of angle it in to the entryway, because it's not to scale, but it's like about 27 feet to the porch, and then he was going to come off the porch by 2.5 feet or so. So we wouldn't be right up against the porch, because we'd have to have someplace to put the snow in the front of the car. Okay. And then we're going to just, because the person that just drives in the driveway and it just slides over a little bit. So it would be kind of an angle. It's not straight back. In other words, not 8 feet straight back, straight to the road. It's 8 feet, a parking spot, and then kind of a little bit of a angle back to the 12 feet. He didn't draw it out. He didn't draw it in very well, with his quote there. I got from the.
Right.
Do you see the quote from the paper?
Yes. Yeah, we're looking right at it.
Yeah, it's not to scale, and that makes it, he.
So you're looking to pave 27 feet. Well, but 27 feet plus 2 feet
right.
for snow. So 29 feet from.
No, 27 feet. That's it.
But you said you weren't going to pave within 2 feet of the porch.
Yeah, well, no, I would leave that grass. So we have some place to put the snow. I'm not gonna pave right up to the porch.
So we're gonna be 29 feet from that porch. And the front of the house is how far from the property line, Joe?
It's 20 feet from the sidewalk.
20 feet from the sidewalk. And that is the house or that little porch area on the front of the house?
It's to the porch.
No, that's to the house.
Well,
The
there's
house is 20 feet.
Yeah,
But
20 feet is to the house. The area is alongside the house by about 5 feet or so.
But isn't
Okay,
there-
and then the porch is back from the main part of the house.
but
By
what
how
is,
much?
I'm not sure which porch you were talking about, Scott. The front or
well,
the side?
it looks like there's something on the front of the house.
Yeah, okay, so from the house, not the porch, it's 23 or 24 feet. From the side porch where the parking area is being proposed,
Yeah,
from the front of that porch to the sidewalk is 32 feet.
and they're looking at doing 27
That
plus
that
2,
sounds
29.
about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So the parking area is going to be within about 3 feet of the sidewalk.
Yes.
Okay.
So the actual angle is gonna be, to get to this is not like this at all. It's almost, it's how far? It's 3 feet from the sidewalk to that angle?
Yeah, because he's showing 27 feet, and he's going to come back 2 feet from the porch. That's 29 feet, and Joe's saying that the sidewalk is 32 feet to that porch that he's heading towards. So you're going to come in 3 feet and then start widening that driveway.
Wow.
That's what I say. I second that bark.
Sorry.
Well, unless people have other things, I'll get it going. I'll make a motion in regards to appeal 2248 for Albert Phillips to pave in the front yard setback as shown on his plans, of which we're coming, of which 19 feet, if my math is right, will be in the front yard setback. No, 17, I'm sorry, 17 feet in the front yard setback.
Is that a
correct?
motion to approve?
That is a motion to approve, just to get it going.
Okay. So, seconded by,
I'll second.
who did? Megan, great, thank you. So, we're gonna text with Lisa. A yes vote is to approve. Again, could you just say it once more, Scott?
The whole motion or a yes vote is to approve?
What the motion is for how many feet?
Okay, the motion is as he shows on his drawing, which will end up paving in the front yard setback to within 3 feet of his property line for a parking space.
For a distance of how long? 29 feet? 27 feet?
It'll be 27 feet. It will
Of which,
be 2 feet away from the porch, which ends up being 29 feet from the porch. And the porch is 32 feet from the sidewalk.
so is it 17 feet in the front yard or 19?
Yes, 17 feet in,
17.
based on
Okay.
Joe's statement that the front yard setback is 20 feet currently
Right.
due to
Right.
pre-existing.
Okay. Okay. And that was seconded by Megan, so we're gonna send a vote to Lisa, a yes vote to approve, a no vote not to approve.
Okay, so I have Kelly, no.
Kelly? She said no. Did you say no? Yes. You have to say it, so it's recorded.
Sorry. That is correct. I said no.
Megan, yes.
Yes.
Kathleen, no.
Correct.
Ron, no.
Correct.
And Scott, no.
Correct.
Okay. So Albert, what that means is that we thought it was too much paving in the front yard. And I don't know, you can talk to the building inspector, and come back with a different plan. You can't come back with the same plan for a year, but I would do some measuring and figuring and see if we can figure out a way to do this. I understand it's only for the winter. The problem we have, just so you understand, is, Albert, is not that we don't like you or think that you should be able to have your tenant park on your property. The problem is that one of our big rules is about no parking in the front yard. If this was just a slight thing, like you were sticking into the front yard setback 2 or 3 feet, and it seemed to fit with the house, but basically this is going to create a whole paved area right in the front yard, which is a sort of one that we always have a lot of trouble with. Try and get together with Joe and see if we can come up with a different plan that will work with this, okay? I'm sorry that it didn't work out this way, but I think the board, unless, if we can come up with a compromise, we will. All right? Thank you.
All right.
Albert.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to recuse myself now until after we get back to regular business, and Kathy's going to take over and do Keith Baugh.
Hey, Ron,
Yes.
can I bow out and have PJ sit in on this one?
Do you have a reason?
Yeah, I have to paint a door before tomorrow morning.
What's that?
I have to paint a door before it gets mounted tomorrow morning.
It's fine with me. Is that okay with you, PJ?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Scott, you're recused. Excused. Okay. Kath, go ahead. Thanks.
Ron, are you staying? Is Ron gone? Oh, no, you're there. I didn't know if we had minutes or something afterwards to do. I didn't know if you were staying around. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Can you guys hear
So,
me?
yep, is that Keith?
Yes,
You can hear us okay?
yes, I can.
Okay, great. So you've got an area variance appeal number 2249. This is 85 Brinkerhoff Street. And this is a construction that's already been completed. Is that correct?
Well, I stopped when they asked me to fill out the permit and go through this process, so I haven't touched it since then. So I still need to put siding on it, so it's watertight, and there's stuff inside that still has to be done.
Okay.
I didn't. I know ignorance isn't a defense, but it was originally just a exercise structure in the backyard that I built for my son. It was built with 4x4 4x4s and had like a rope thing, rings, chin up bar, and he used it, but he wanted to use it year round, so we started closing it in, and then project got bigger and bigger, and before you know it, I'm building a shed in the back of my house. And so I just wanted to make sure that everything was fine, especially, and also the city had talked to me about it. I've been there for 25 years, and there was a garage there that was that size, and actually I think a little bit larger, if I recall, made out of that whole 40-pound solid cement block that we see in the city a lot. And when I moved into the house, maybe 3-4 years into the house, I was moving a picnic table into that garage. It let loose one of those big stones and hit me in the head, and I don't know how it didn't kill me, but I had to go to the hospital. So I immediately tore it down, because I had young kids. I didn't want a chance of them getting hurt, and I didn't have the money to fix it at the time. So for 20 years, went without a garage, but so I've gone through lawnmowers and snow blowers a lot faster because they sit out in the rain in the back. I've had bicycles stolen off my porch, because that was the only dry place you could keep them. So I'm just looking to have a place to build, to store some stuff, and to have my son have a place to work out that's he can use year round. It meets the property line. It's more than 5 feet from the property lines. And I'm building it to code based on what the information that I have. And I understand now that apparently there was a zone in place saying that it was a space issue which I had a hardest time trying to understand what that meant. It's like, well, how can it be a space issue? Because it's not taking up the same space as my previous garage. But then apparently my yard was grandfathered in, and that I don't have enough space. Like my yard, even without the shed, is out of compliance, but it was grandfathered in, which I don't understand. So I was just looking to have a shed to store my stuff so they don't rust, in a place for my son to work out. And that's pretty much why I'm here. And I just want to go through the right process, get the permit so I can make it watertight and move on.
Okay, so the garage that you mentioned and it says on your application you're replacing a garage, but that's been gone for how many years?
Well, let's see, my son was 3, he's 23 now, so almost 20 years ago then probably, when it's about half of 20 years ago, probably tore it down 19 years ago, maybe 20 years ago.
All right, so Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the previous existence of a garage there that's been gone that long, I mean, that doesn't really impact our analysis, right, as far as any kind of grandfathering?
Yeah, no, it's, in fact, once it's removed completely at all, we have to act like it wasn't there. So it was a pre-existing non-conforming condition, and once it was removed, then now you have to comply.
Okay, yeah, what Ron is fond of saying is that if you had, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but if you had taken it down block by block and rebuilt something in its place without actually removing it completely and then building something new, then you might be able to keep that grandfathering, but once it was removed in its entirety, that's gone.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. If you have a pre-existing non-conforming and it's legally there because it predated the zoning ordinance, then you're fine and you're allowed to repair it. Whatever that takes. But this was,
yeah. And I only mentioned that. I'm only mentioning that, Keith, just so you understand that that's while you did have something there before, it doesn't really factor into our review at this point.
All right.
So I just want to make sure you understand that. And just looking at and we don't have a setback issue, right, Joe? It's just coverage and open space, right? So it has nothing to do with where the property lines are in connection or in relation to the structure.
That is my understanding, is that, yeah, it's far enough away from the property lines. It's a matter of not complying with the coverage and open space requirements.
Okay, and can you just review those? I know we had a little discussion in the pre-meeting about a couple slightly different calculations, but your most recent calculation on coverage and open
Yeah,
space.
okay, so my most recent calculations, which are very close to another person in my office who did the same thing. When I say really close, I mean a few percentage points. I've got the existing condition right now being, they're covering 29.2%, which the maximum you're allowed to cover with structures in that district is 25%. So they've got an existing non-compliant condition where it's 29.2, and this structure adds 3%. So they would be going to 32.2%.
Okay, so when you say existing, you're talking about without the structure there?
Without the structure there, yeah.
Okay, and that's coverage, right? And so,
That's covered. Open space, they're right at the number of 50%, which is the minimum they're supposed to allow. And this 3% takes them to 47%.
So it's basic.
When I built this, it was an allowable structure because it was an open structure that was allowed under the recreational code. I was just trying to close in that same structure that's allowed, because that doesn't affect the space if you have a recreational structure like a playground or a gym, which is what it was. So all I really did was try to winterize an allowable structure. And my son's a basketball player, and that whole structure and my backyard and back my driveway is a basketball court. So it might be considered driveway to you, but to me, that's a recreational structure for my son. So that's even more space. And how can I be penalized for having a house that has 29.5%? That's my house.
Keith, I'm just trying to get the numbers. I'm nobody's penalizing anybody. Nobody's even talked about your application as far as, trying to question you, or we're just trying to get the basics of your application in place so we know what we're voting on. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So basically, Joe, you're just basically talking about 3% over on both. Is that right? Roughly?
It creates a 3% deficiency on open space. Okay, so it goes from 50 to 47%.
Right.
It already doesn't comply with coverage, and it adds 3% to that, from 29.2% to 32.2%.
Okay, so I staved that a little off. So one is 3% deficiency on what's allowed. The other one is a 3% exacerbation of what's already over as far as coverage. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody else on the board have any questions or need any clarification from Keith on what he's applying for, what he's asking us to review?
Keith, this is Kelly Porter. I do have a couple of questions to ask you. So I kind of have a sense of what you were saying, that it was an open structure used for outdoor play at one point, and then you enclosed it, and you've used the word winterizing and winter use from your son. So I kind of get the sense you're going to be insulating the structure. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And are you also planning on running electricity or anything to the structure?
We didn't really make a decision about that, because probably one of the things that I had to clear with the city before I went ahead and did it. So I hadn't made that decision yet. But at least if it's insulated, it'll keep whatever heat and equipment dry, because you'll have way of equipment in there. So by being insulated and watertight, that equipment will be not get damaged, like leather punching bags and things like that.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, because we don't have any pictures, how is it fastened to the ground? Is it sitting on a slab, or do you have cord?
Crushed stone.
It's sitting on crushed stone?
Yes, it's not fixed to a slab. It was small. It never was to begin with. It was on compacted crushed stone.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Kyle, you just put up a picture. Is that you?
Yes.
What are we looking at here? I'm just having a little trouble.
So this is my house on the right. In the back, just obscured by the trees, is the shed. And the empty space, the large, wide empty space next door is an empty lot owned by Dr. Thompson, who's a building that you can't see to the left, who's a business on the street. So, you know, on paper, I guess the open lot isn't there, but I do have an open empty lot next to it as well. That's not mine, obviously, but that's what you're looking at.
Okay. All right. Do we have any public comment on this, or anyone who's attending the meeting who wants to comment? I didn't mean to cut off the board. If there's other questions that board members have, I feel free to let me know, but if not, want to see if there's any public participation.
There are no attendees.
Okay, thanks. And no, there was no comment submitted, right? If it was, I missed it. Written comments? Okay. Okay, so I guess we can do the seeker next. And get to that. So that's a short environmental assessment form, and as is tradition, number 2 was answered no, should be yes, building permit and variance from the ZBA. So that needs to be changed. I didn't see anything else in the seeker that needs to be changed. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on that.
Well, I feel pretty good. I only made one mistake.
Yeah, and it's a common one. You're the majority. If nobody else had anything to correct or fill in, I would ask for a motion on the seeker as to part 2, and I guess I get to sign.
I'll make a
as
motion.
acting chair.
I make a motion for appeal number 2249, after review of the short environmental assessment form, after review of part 1, that we advise the chair to check in part 2 that there is no or small environmental impact that may occur with this project, and then sign on page 4. And I know that was very jumbled, but that was winging it.
So check the second box before signing.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Megan?
Yep.
Okay. So all in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So seeker was approved with that one change. And do we have any other discussion or questions or comments about the application before I look for a motion on it? And that would be for a 3% deficiency on open space and an additional 3% exacerbation of an existing coverage maximum.
I'll make a motion for appeal 2249 that we approve for an outside storage building to be allowed, understanding that it currently exacerbates the coverage by an additional 3%, and also, what was the other one? Sorry.
3% deficiency on open space.
Yes, and requires an additional 3% deficiency in open space.
Okay, seconds?
I'll second.
Is that Megan again, second? And let Lisa know your vote. Yes vote is to approve.
So that's, we're good then? Yes?
Nope, we haven't voted yet. Keith, give us a second here.
All right, jumping the gun.
I think we're moving pretty fast, I think, as things go.
I thought I might have learned something after the first two board things that you did, but I guess I didn't.
No, that's okay. It's a little tough when you're not seeing us and what we're up to, but we're voting at the moment. So as soon as Lisa has all the votes, she'll let us know how we did.
Okay, so I have Kathleen, yes.
Yes.
PJ, yes.
Yes.
Kelly, yes.
Yes.
Elizabeth, yes.
Yes.
Megan, yes.
Okay, so your application is granted. Thank you for participating in the process. And I guess you probably still need a building permit from the building inspector's office.
Great. So can I start this weekend then to close it up?
I will defer to Joe on that. I don't know if you usually wait for an actual permit. I don't think we need to be that picky about waiting for the actual written document, but I'll defer to Joe on that.
We'll work with you on it, Keith.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
How we do, Ron?
Can I come back now?
Yeah, you want
Very
to
good.
provide a
It was
critique?
It was excellent. It was excellent.
I'm open.
especially the part-
We're open to constructive criticism.
And, well, I really like that you said thanks for participating in the process.
You can't end it. You can't end an application without it.
That's right. No, I think that was good. PJ, how are you feeling? Okay? Were you nervous?
No, that was all right.
Yeah, it's the first hit's free. Okay. Listen, no, that was good. I do want to say these two applications went fine. I think that Albert, it's too bad, but it was pretty excessive, and I don't think we did badly. This one, I think the guy deserved it. I'm glad to see it actually went that way. As far as Prime went and Corey and all that stuff, I think that went about as well as it could be. I don't know we'll see what the reactions are. We'll see. I do know Kathy and I saw some stuff with Corey where the city is, I will just tell you, trying to get him to reduce his fees, past fees and future fees. And they wanted limits on how much would spend. I'm just keeping you informed. Very informal, lawyer to lawyer, right? That's informal, isn't it? But anyway, they we'll see what happens with that in the next little bit. I even though I'd heard the phrase many times before, I'm learning what mea culpa means, right, Ken? Which is that there needs to be, we'll see what the city does, and there needs to be some acknowledgement about what they did or didn't do and what was done and how it was done. So other than that, I think that we made a lot of progress. I hope it was very clear that the decisions about the county were ours and were no way reflective of anybody else's opinions or work or anything that happened in the past. So we're a strong board, and it takes a lot to, I think, stop us. So we did very well, and I think it was a great participation. I don't have any other new business right now. We'll see if they come back Prime with a new plan, as Dean said they might, or the old plan, or whatever he was saying. I was trying not to be influenced, number one. And number two, if there is any information that comes out, and or if you want to watch the council meeting on Thursday, perhaps, something will happen by then, but there's got to be an agreement by our board that stuff is okay and everybody's satisfied. So other than that, I don't have any other businesses. Anybody else?
But there weren't minutes, right, from your August meeting?
What's that?
No,
Did you have any?
there were no minutes for the August meeting.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. Okay, all set. Thank you, everyone. You can leave the meeting.
Thank you. Good luck, Ron. Keep us posted.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.